Hello, it's layperson Lisa with a reflection on the readings for the 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. So today's readings are all about humility. And the Greek and the Latin words, which are the roots for humility, mean close to the ground or lowly. And we hear in Mary's Magnificat how she calls herself lowly, that her soul rejoices in God, that she is an instrument that God uses to glorify Him. And that's what humility is about, allowing our lives to glorify God, not to seek praise and adoration for ourselves, but to be the servant that God calls us to be, to glorify Him, to be Jesus to others. It's being an imitator of Jesus. And I love how Saint Therese describes humility as knowing our weakness and accepting it. Because so often when we have a weakness, we try to hide it. We try to get better at it. But humility is accepting that God created us this way and depending and trusting and relying on Him, that He will use our weakness to glorify Him. In the first reading, we hear how an attentive ear is the joy of the wise. And we recently had an eighth grade retreat. And one of the questions that we asked the 8th graders was, what are some characteristics that make up a good friend? And they said selfless, kind, a good listener, that a person who's always there for you, someone who's considerate, someone who's honest and easy to talk to. And those are all characteristics of humility. I think a lot of times when someone is speaking to us or we're speaking to someone, sometimes it's easy to get distracted and to lose our focus on what the person is saying, and we get trapped in our own thoughts or like what we need to do maybe after we're done talking to them. And so that is kind of focusing on ourselves rather than the person in front of us. And oftentimes, like in the past, if I was in the middle of doing something and somebody came in to talk to me, or I encountered someone, I would kind of get a little annoyed. And that's like super prideful, because God put that person in my path. Maybe they needed to be ministered to. Maybe they were going to minister to me. Maybe they just needed someone to listen to. But yet I focused on myself and like, oh, I'm busy, I need to get this done, instead of focusing on the other and being selfless. And so that's why we're just always called to live in the present. We're called to be open to these encounters, because oftentimes the person who crosses our path is someone who might be in need or might just have the right words for us. And humility is being open to that, not being so focused on my agenda, but being open to God's will. That's really what humility is about, is, okay, Lord, not my will, but your will. And we see this in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus, He knew what was going to happen. He was distraught, and He asked His friends to be present to Him, but they weren't. So He felt alone, and He just cried out to God, like, let this cup pass, but then not my will, but your will. And we went to the Elizabeth Ann Seton. It's Elizabeth Ann Seton Shrine in Maryland, and there's this beautiful chapel of the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus, the angel, is presenting a cup to Jesus, and Jesus just has his hands ready to receive. And that's humility. Humility is ready to receive anything that God puts in our path, whether it be a person, whether it be a struggle that maybe we don't understand, but Lord, your will, not my will. How are you calling me to grow closer to you through this trial, through this struggle? Don't try to Sometimes like the being prideful is trying to control a situation, trying to be in charge of something that it's just not possible to be in charge of. And part of humility is being open to all the encounters that God presents to us, whether it be, like I just said, a situation or a person. But it's also about just focusing on God and God alone, to detach ourselves from things of this world, to renounce those things, and to live a life of a contrite heart, where if we have done something wrong, that we do good. It's like reparations, like make good of that sin, make good of that thing that we did that may have caused hurt to someone. And that's humility, being able to acknowledge, yes, Lord, I've hurt you, I've hurt others, and I am sorry because I love you and I love this person because you love them, and allow me to make this right through my actions. And so we can have these little sufferings. We can fast. We can fast from things that we enjoy as a way to sacrifice for that thing. That's humility. Humility is being selfless, being other-focused, but most importantly, focusing on God and what He's calling us to do, even when we don't want to do those things. So where is God asking you to grow in humility? Oftentimes, when we need to grow in a virtue, we can ask, okay, like, Lord, help me to be more humble. Help me to grow in humility. And so He will. He'll present things to you that are hard, that maybe kind of strike our pride, kind of wound our pride. But God is allowing these things to help us grow in humility. And so ask God to help you grow in humility and be open to the encounters that He presents in your way, because these are opportunities to grow in humility, and humility is the pathway to holiness. We need humility to grow in all virtues. And so humility, as hard as it may be, is actually a very beautiful thing. And may the Lord open our eyes and our hearts to growing in it.